It's a pleasure for all of us to be back for an in-person IPP4 Global Conference. And it really does feel like IPP4 has come home by meeting now on the African continent and here in Nairobi. This is quite a wonderfully organized event. You've made it possible for all of us to gather. We know it's really difficult to bring a global constituency together, and we really appreciate the capacity building and awareness raising activities that you've held over the years.
I'm happy to be here, and even if our chair would made it, I would also be here just to join you. But now I have the privilege to welcome you on behalf of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation and to thank all of you for joining our common effort.
We are indeed grateful to the organizers for choosing Kenya and Nairobi as the first city in Africa to host this important conference. I hope at the end of the conference, your wise choice will be vindicated and the delegates will carry precious memories back home to their countries.
Lobbying for the freedom of belief and religion is not just one point of our agenda as foundation. It's a core value that is guiding us in our work in over 80 countries where we have more than 100 offices throughout the world, because working together with civil society and among those groups, especially a religious group, is crucial if you want to support the development of just, inclusive societies.
This conference accords us an excellent opportunity to share experiences, exchange knowledge, and indulge in honest, candid discourse on the right to freedom of religion or belief, and indeed all other rights, even as we endeavor to attain all-inclusive sustainable development for the benefit of humanity globally.
There are many actors called to champion the freedom of religion or belief, and we believe parliamentarians are, as direct representatives of people, are key role players to promote and advance these human rights, and therefore building plural, diverse, and inclusive societies. In our work with parliamentarians and other stakeholders, we are committed to three core values: diversity, equality, and non-discrimination, and solidarity. We hope you get inspiration from each other's work and explore paths of collaboration among you all to achieve our common goal of a world in which everyone enjoys their inalienable right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Thank you very much.
We know that freedom of religion and belief is restricted in many countries in the world. 85% of world population lives in countries with high restrictions on freedom of religion and belief. And the situation is actually going in the wrong direction for the last decade. It has grown from 40 countries who had high restrictions into 52 countries, so we need to step up to work to promote freedom of religion and belief for all globally.
I think one can say that we had fruitful and inspiring discussions throughout the last 2 days. Be it in the plenary, be it in thematic and regional workshops, and at least it was my impression that parliamentarians were really able to exchange best practice experience and thus take relevant information and new input with them to their constituencies and national parliaments.
We need parliamentarians around the globe who commit to work to promote freedom of religion and belief for all. And we see that in combination with the SDGs. We see the link between freedom of religion and belief, women's rights, see the link between climate change, see the link between poverty and freedom of religion and belief, and see all that in one thing. And I think parliamentarians can make a huge difference, and that's why such a conference here in Nairobi is so important.
Many of you will be all too aware that freedom of religion or belief is critical in implementing the SDGs. It concerns marginalized religious and belief communities, but also their neighbors, and how they are being held behind or facilitated to access the goals of the SDGs. It is helpful as we open this conference to take stock of some of the issues that relate both to the FORB agenda and the SDG agenda, to remind us of how our diverse roles and commitments can contribute towards addressing them more effectively now that we are already more than halfway through the SDG 2030 agenda.
All conferences need a declaration, and the Nairobi conference was no exception. In the case of the Nairobi conference, the declaration was a long time in production, as it was informed by a series of high-level dialogues that IPP4 helped organise as part of the 4BLN project. The dialogues were shaped by a series of expert briefing papers produced by the Danish Institute for Human Rights that explored the interface between freedom of religion or belief and the Sustainable Development Goals. Through these dialogues, parliamentarians considered how FORB contributes to sustainable, inclusive and equitable social and economic development. Most importantly, they discussed the role that they can play as parliamentarians to advance the 2030 agenda. As such, the declaration is more than just another end-of-conference musing. Rather, it is the culmination of a long and participatory process where parliamentarians play a pivotal role in determining the very practical steps they can take in ensuring that no one is left behind because of their religion or belief.
We need to strengthen our global efforts in defending religious freedom. We see shrinking space for civil societies all over the world, and religious communities are often threatened by ideologies or even by religious tensions. So there is a growing intensity of pressure on religious minorities, and that's why it's good that in a conference like that, more than 30 members of parliament from 4 continents. So Africa is strong represented here in Nairobi, of course, but Latin America, Asia, Europe is represented, and that is good. We have a common aim because our aim is rooted in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18.
An interesting element that we brought into the conference was also the voice of the youth. So we created the so-called Youth Encounter, where we brought together 10 international students here from Nairobi, and we trained them on the topic of freedom of religion or belief in several workshops.
I believe this is the right direction. I believe that we should not leave behind. The Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is very categorical in regards to freedom of thought, freedom of religion, and freedom of belief. Young people are highly innovative. Young people are not with prejudices, as like the way you'd look at somebody and start judging that person. I like what my good brother from South Africa said, that we were not born hating each other. We are not born with prejudices against each other. So I think mobilizing young people towards freedom of thought, freedom of religion, and freedom of thought is actually the right component of our population that we should engage in regards to mobilizing the rest of our population towards this particular goal of leaving no one behind, and ensuring that we achieve the Universal Declaration of Rights of Article 18.
Indeed, you're quite right in saying that Harambee, the spirit of cooperation, is very important in working together, building this network, but also firmly entrenching a human rights culture in our respective contexts. And throughout the discussions over the past 2 days, we've become family. I am because we are, and I am because I belong to this very important and august collective. And remember, what we should be doing is a change of mindset, because rule of law requires that people respect the rule of law, and they respect the fundamental principle that form the basis of that law. And that we, from the African perspective, will do our part to make sure that FORB does not die in Africa, that we continue to promote and encourage that people respect the right to freedom of religion or belief in our context, and do our bit towards contributing towards building a better world for all. I'm much obliged to you. Thank you, Chair.
I therefore challenge you all to utilize the valuable experiences gained here, exchange of knowledge and network established in this conference to not only advance the discourse on the right to freedom of religion or belief, but to extend the effort to all other fundamental human rights and liberties that guarantee human dignity and all-inclusive development agenda for the benefit of every human being, regardless of their faith, religion, or belief.
And we want to solemnize this moment. In the solemnity of the occasion, of course, this is what we've been looking forward to, the signing of a declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for this moment. It's a solemn moment for us.
It is now my singular honor and privilege to declare the 4th International Parliamentary Conference officially closed. I thank you.